pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The reorg and election of chair and vice chair. You want to postpone that to the next meeting? Everybody's okay with that?
Yep.
All right. The adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Discussion from the audience? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes, December 6, 2017. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, changes? Discussion from the audience? Hearing none. Is there a motion to vote? Do I? There we go.
Try and get past.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You opposed? All right, the motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 12, 2017?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Hearing none. Any discussion from the audience? Comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, we have review of the construction activity. I'll turn that over. Mary Lou?
So I put out a schedule, however, that was from our last meeting that was canceled. So it's the same list of work, it's just the dates have changed. So if you follow me, you'll see the bridge crossing Route 30 was, I believe, scheduled to open on February something, 15th in my last, let me just look at that.
16th it said.
Yeah, and it did not. So we are waiting until spring break is over, which will be Monday, March 9th. It's next week,
12th,
spring break.
I think it's
12th.
12th
So,
is a Monday, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to open it then when the students come back from break. The bridge elevator, we are still working on that. It's probably about 90% done. All the stuff is there. The only thing that would stop us from opening that on the 23rd would be getting the state inspector out to inspect it. And there's, I believe, 1 or 2 state inspectors for Pennsylvania, so it's not as easy
Oh, God. Wow.
to get someone out here. The bridge site work and remaining stonework, as you can see, I think we're probably 80% with the stonework on the west side and 90% on the east side. There will be stone even on the piers, the south side, the 2 piers that don't have any stone on them right now will have stone. So almost everything is in place, and we had a nice week that it was not freezing, it was not raining, although it's raining today, or tonight, which at least it waited until the end of the day. We won't be probably putting up any stone tomorrow, or possibly Monday or Tuesday. The weather has been very difficult for the last 3 or 4 weeks, not to mention probably since December. So the installation of the crosses, they are scheduled to arrive at Villanova on March 9th and to be installed. They should only take a day to install, and they will be up by the following week. Housing, the complexes, as you can see, going from east or from west to east. You see the bridge, and you see like that first set of buildings.
Sorry, I forgot.
The first set of buildings, stone is really starting to progress nicely. The windows are in. There's a big turret that has just been unveiled.
What is the turret?
It's where we have mechanical equipment,
Oh,
but
okay.
kind of an interesting feature
Very cute.
to, yeah, it's kind of cute, I guess.
What is it?
So, yeah, a nice architectural feature.
Yes, that's it.
And you know, we're moving on all the buildings, as you can see. You know, I'm saying that we'll be done the stone by mid-spring. Again, everything is weather dependent. If we have good weather, you can see all those stonemasons going. If we don't, it's tough to work. They're running the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire suppression systems inside the building, the piping for it in that building, Complex 1. So we're doing well there. And we're about to start the stone on Building 2, which is the next set of buildings.
Sorry, but one is enclosed yet? No.
None are, I mean, 1A, there's 3 buildings to each complex.
Right.
You can see that there's roofing going on and the
Right.
ice and water shield is going on, but none are completely
Gotcha, okay.
enclosed.
Thank you.
Utilities have been run to each of the buildings, so that's near completion. And the upcoming work, again, this is done for our last meeting. The restoration of the temporary path on the north side. So as the bridge is being complete, part of completing the bridge is to fill in the temporary path on the north side and to put a fence up. This might be a good segue to talk about the north side and the sidewalk. So we are putting the fence up, but we're not going to do the fence probably till midsummer because we were fortunate enough to get a grant to put a sidewalk on the north side of Lancaster Avenue. So we're going to do it in conjunction with that.
The idea is that the sidewalk, which along the north side is right up against the street, we would move that in all the way from the end of our property at Campus Corner Pizza, around the bridge. It would come back down to go under the bridge at the street, and then go back in again along the fence line in front of the fields, and end at the Villanova University sign at Eighth Avenue.
And so you'll have a nice parkway.
Well, it'll do a couple of things. It will, it'll be fenced so that it'll still prevent jaywalking in either direction. It'll help create a smoother pedestrian, a safer pedestrian experience. We were out walking the site yesterday, and you're next to the traffic, and it moves very quickly. So it'll do that. It'll be wider. It'll be better able to tap into the trail network that we've all been talking about for a long time, and I know it's been an expressed desire. It'll make for ease of maintenance for our folks because the sidewalk is against the street now. They're plowing and replowing and shoveling and reshoveling in very narrow areas. So all of that will be great, and we're very excited about it. It'll improve the streetscape. It'll match the streetscape that we're doing on the south side as part of the residence halls project. And then when we're done with that, we will have succeeded in moving the sidewalk away from the curb, basically the entire run of our campus.
How far back? Oh, yeah, I was good. That's what I was
It depends on the elevation. So in front of the,
So there'll be a verge, a grass verge of probably about 4 to 5 feet. The goal is 5 feet, but there's some areas where we have a little bit of problem with a storm line or something like that. So the goal is 5 feet. At the end, the goal would be to get rid of the Cobra headlights that are on Lancaster Avenue, because we will have the Gothic lights running down the sidewalk. We talked to Steve Norsini about that. As long as, I think he's good as long as we're providing enough light for the path. PennDOT does not require you to light the road at all. That's really just a kind of a leftover from years ago. And those lights never work anyway.
I was going to say, is that why they're out now?
Yeah,
most of the time?
they're powered by Pico. However, they're maintained by the township. So the township actually owns the light. Pico actually owns the service to it. And 90% of the time they're out.
So it's more of a safety issue for the students and your staff that walk up and down there as well.
I think it's really for the public. Our students and staff don't really walk that much on the sidewalk. And especially with the new bridge, that you'll have kids that are just going to cross and go straight to campus. And we're really discouraging them from crossing and cutting through campus because we're going to have a fence along our property. So it'd be great for people who run, neighbors.
Except the users, there's a bus stop at St. Thomas Way that there is some, not a lot necessarily, but there is joint use between the high-speed line and the bus right there. So we're pleased to do it. We're funding part of the project as well in addition to the grant. So we think aesthetically it'll look great, but also from a safety perspective, it achieves a lot of the objectives that we're talking about with pedestrian safety.
Will the fencing be along the curb, or will it be along
Our property.
Your property,
Yes.
okay. All right. Oh, and will you have to take down any trees,
Probably, yes.
like big ones?
No.
We're trying not to take down a lot of trees.
Okay.
There are some trees that may be in need of, they're at the end of their
Right,
life or
they're-
they're diseased.
Right.
We're trying to preserve as many as possible, but it's
We
likely.
have an
we'll have to-
arborist right now who's looking at them.
Okay.
And there is one large tree, but whether we do this sidewalk or not, that large tree is coming down because it's diseased and
It's gonna fall on
Yeah.
somebody.
it's a hazard.
Okay.
I'd say I'm extremely pleased to hear this. As I think you guys know, I've been concerned for quite a while with pedestrian traffic going westward down Lancaster to Campus Corner, but also to Kinko's and Starbucks and First Watch and Macy's and all those sorts of retail outlets. I see students walking there all the time. So making that experience safer for them and more attractive too is great, applause. Now, if we just finesse the 320 crossing, we'd be all set.
We can only improve our property.
That's true.
So that would be the fencing, the sidewalk. Site work for the Performing Arts Center has started. I'm sure you've seen that. Nothing too much yet. We're preparing the temporary parking lot today. They brought the first trailer of 3 trailers that are coming, which the other 2 will come tomorrow and be set and ready to go. Yeah, so those 2 areas we're starting, and the pack, we have started that site work as well. As you can see, it's all fenced in. The temporary parking lot is fenced. It's not fenced in yet, but the poles are in, and it's about to be. We started a little later than what was on the schedule. We had NPDS out to Delaware County Conservatory District comes out for a kickoff meeting to make sure that everything's in place before you start your excavation. So we did that,
And those were your trucks today on Lancaster, right, with all the ventilation stuff, or whatever, look, big metal something or others, like.
I don't know. I guess so.
Flatbeds. That stuff.
The big metal things?
Mhm.
I don't know what the metal things are.
It looked like ducting, but, I mean, from a quick drive-by in a car, so it was really big ducting, but, or, you know, venting on top of a building, kind of looking stuff. Tucked in.
Well, that was,
Different.
they were up just parked off of 320,
Right.
of Lancaster Pike, coming
that
off
little-
the Blue Route as
Right.
we were going up.
Yeah. 2 of them, 2 big
So
ones.
it's big duct work?
Well,
Look, it
it was
like-
metal and it was,
What it could have been was our substations for the basement of each of the buildings. So
Oh, maybe
the
that's-
electrical services
Okay,
equipment that was going into the
Yeah.
buildings, that was scheduled to come today as well.
okay.
Um,
That whole delivery system seems to be working very well,
Thank you.
so.
Then I have it on here, non-Villanova work, just because it clearly is right in our area, and I'm sure you're all curious as to, and it seems like everyone is aware now of the SEPTA work that's happening. North High Speed Line, everyone knows, they're doing the ADA. So that's really not us. However, they're on our property or close to our property, so it sort of looks like it's us, but it's really not. And
it was all
we're trying-
discussed, but the preliminary discussion was Monday night at the commissioners meeting.
Okay.
Right.
They're coming back in 2 weeks because
Right.
what they were asking for was not acceptable.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I did give Steve Norsini a heads up a couple weeks ago when they started, just so that he could alert anyone if they had questions.
I think if we can actually, can we wait till a little bit later to bring that? I have some pictures. I have more questions or comments. Rick and I actually did get a chance to kind of
Yeah.
walk the ground. I don't know when you guys want to bring it up.
Before we bring it up, let's, under this section 5, the review section,
You know, more new business, I would think.
yeah, there has been some Sunday work.
So there actually has only been, when I got this,
Yeah.
the Sunday work, if there has been any, has been one day when we had all the plastic up for the turret, actually, was blowing away onto Lancaster Avenue, and they were reattaching it. So that was the reason they were there. We certainly don't want anyone working on Sundays. That's very expensive, and I know that it is completely inappropriate. So again, when I hear SEPTA going beep beep, I'm all over my site thinking my guys are there, and it's not. So that was the reason that they were there that Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was one time,
Okay.
okay?
Is there anybody having, in the public, does anybody have anything to comment on in section 5?
Questions?
I do. Item 3, I have a question.
I'm wondering if the pavilion stuff is all done, because that's not, I don't see that on here, and that was disrupting North Dayton a lot as far as construction. You're getting this overall construction update, you're mentioning adjacent things and you're not mentioning it here, so I'm just wondering, is that done?
So I don't include that, and only because this committee was formed for the CICD, so and it's not my project, not that I couldn't get the information, but I don't think to include that because it's not part of the CICD process.
It's part of the traffic patterns that are also part of it. I'm seeing it as like an ecosystem issue, and I mean, you've mentioned the SEPTA thing. So
I only mentioned the
I'm just
SEPTA
thinking,
thing because
yeah.
it was clear that
Right.
it looks like they're doing work in my
Right.
site,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
not.
So, well, my question is going toward, do we know how long, I haven't seen it, I haven't come down that road this week, so I don't even know if they're closing North Dayton between County Line and Lancaster or not.
So are you
But that's
talking
not-
about the work that was being done in Ithan Avenue?
In the road.
Yeah, there's been
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
that-
work in the road.
That's been done for probably the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
They will be coming back in the spring, PICO. That's not the pavilion, it's PICO doing, they put in a gas service.
Hard for me to keep track. Sorry.
So they will be coming back in the spring, though, to resurface that road. They don't want to do it right now because they want it to settle before they come in and do it, and then it will settle anyway. So anytime that I feel like there's a cut in the road or something that's not appropriate, I am calling them and saying, hey, you need to get out here and patch this, at least temporarily, till it's time to redo the road. And I don't know what the date is that they're gonna come back and do that.
If I could, sorry, just to stop here for 1 second. And I'm no expert on Robert's rules, but let's do our best to kind of honor that so there is some kind of fluidness to this process. So I guess before we go to the public comment, I think that anyone here, I mean, would want to direct you if everything's fine. And then when we do go to public comment, if you could just state your name, because I don't know if the camera is necessarily going to be on you or be able to see you.
Okay, so I was asking a question. I wasn't aware we were at the public comment phase of things.
No, we're not. But if you're going to address her because the camera is not on,
It's not.
No,
it's
the
not-
camera-
it's
the
not
camera
on
can't
us,
see
it's
you.
on
Everybody's
them.
talking at a
It's
low
the
level.
level.
So-
I can
Right.
barely hear some of you.
Yeah,
so
no, and
I agree.
that's a
can't
problem.
either.
No, we actually probably should shut that door. That is going to be a problem with the room. That
So, is the camera working and where is it?
Yes.
Yes, it's
camera
right
is
up
up
here.
here,
It's right
but
there.
Anne
Yeah,
Marie,
it's
we
there.
want to know
There.
Okay,
that it's you.
would you like me to loudly state my name before I
Please.
speak every time?
Please.
Can I say something? I can hardly hear you either, and I have a
Okay.
suggestion, since there's so few of us, maybe we could move up to those chairs.
It
so
sounds
that
like
we
a
can
good
hear you
idea to
better.
me.
Why not? Let's do it.
Let's make it nice and intimate. We run this a little bit loosey-goosey, we're not quite as formal, but that's okay. I mean, I understand, I
think at
understand,
least,
but
yeah, and if we could shut that door, enough that, I think that would be.
it's not that we're loosey-goosey, it's just that we're a little bit more
I mean, it's, I just think it's best form to go ahead and do that. It's best practice. So sorry about that, sorry
Lynn, you're
to
not
interrupt.
And are you chairing the meeting?
I am not, I am the backup relief,
I need to.
but that's just what I'm most comfortable with. So I apologize, Anne Marie, I didn't mean to cut you off. If there's anything else that you want to add, I think that's to the review.
I have an additional
section.
question
Sure.
about roadways affected. There've been, I guess, Miller Bros Miller
Miller
Rose
Brothers.
has had the, like a little series of cones and half of South Ithan between Lancaster and the Chapter Bridge, closed off a lot this week, last week, I don't know the duration. Is that, which thing is that part of?
So that is also Pico, and that is, yes. And they
Okay,
are
thank you.
running service to that site, to our site.
Okay.
So they should be done by the middle of March. They were supposed to be done by the end of February. But again, the weather has been very difficult on these contractors. So yes, they are there, but they have flagmen, and they've done a pretty good job, even though it's inconvenient. They've done a pretty good job of coning things off and making it safe, I feel, compared to the other side of the street when they were with Riggs Disler.
I thought they were part of the dorm construction, so thanks for clarifying.
Could I ask, let's go back to the ADA SEPTA thing. Are you concerned at all, we spoke about this before the meeting began, that they're gonna add 6,000 square feet, or give or take, of impervious thing, but you explained to me that it's 3,000 about on each side. Are you worried about the runoff into the garage at all with that extra impervious? Flooding your garage or that type of thing?
So I don't need to pick it up. I have a lot of pictures on this I took, so
Right.
can we just bring this up at a new business, I think?
Well, except that the SEPTA thing is, we were just doing it.
You want to bring it up now, or?
Well, I was bringing
Well,
up the schedule of it.
okay,
So,
that's fine.
yeah.
It's fine.
I was just
I don't
going
care.
over
It's fine.
the project schedule, and
But this is still your overview, right?
This is just review. I would like to bring this up because this is something.
Oh,
this
right,
is
yeah,
part of the
that's
review.
fine.
I mean, it's new business, so to speak, so.
Well, then let's do it under
Okay.
new business.
If we're done with review, let's move on.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right, old business.
Now, wait a minute, I didn't,
Oh, my apologies, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
I said that under 5, item 3,
Okay.
A,
Traffic,
Mhm.
traffic on Lancaster.
right. This is how I see it. We're talking east of Ithan Avenue. Traffic was coming east. Traffic was going west to go into the parking garage from Lancaster. They filled up the entire thing from the farm to the thing, and there were 20 cars down Lancaster Avenue coming west to get into that parking garage. Was that something you had anticipated?
When was that?
It was a Tuesday at 5 of 10, about 2 weeks ago. And it was a nightmare because cars are.
Sarah, that's the kind of stuff that, I know you have my email address. It'd be really helpful. to
Well,
know.
I'm driving to go swimming, and Colarulo says to me, "Why didn't you take a picture?" And I said, "Because I was driving."
Okay.
It's.
So the only thing I can think of is that's not something that typically happens, that could have been, maybe there was a car in the way.
They were students, I watched them, because I got stopped, everybody got stopped. The cars are trying to come east, trucks are trying to go west on the right side. It was a bit of a disaster. Does the entry in the garage go with an arm that needs to go
No, it's
up?
already up. So I believe that there was something that was blocking them from entering the garage.
It
And
was-
if it hasn't happened again since then, like it was
Well,
probably just one of those
I haven't been
events.
going past there at 5:10.
Yeah.
But I see that you put a sign when you leave the garage, a right turn only.
We are, as I have talked to LF Driscoll, who is our construction manager, we are going to put up a camera to watch people going out, and I don't mean necessarily the students, but contractors.
Right.
If they don't make a right,
Well,
they're
and I
done.
hate to tell you, your students are taking lefts too.
We're doing the best we can.
Have you, I know that you need to get a lot of students into the parking garage in a very short period of time, and they don't allow an extra half an hour to get to class. Is there a left turn arrow at Ithan Avenue to take a left to go to the garage?
Coming,
coming from the east.
Going west?
Going west, is there a left arrow so they can go to the garage? Because I think,
At Ethan and Lancaster, there is.
Yeah,
I
there is.
think this stopping to go to the parking garage so they can get in the backside, so that they've completely jammed up the left lane and the people coming east can't pass
Well,
because people
Sarah-
are taking
Sarah,
left
for-
is a nightmare.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I went out the next 2 or 3 days at 9:45 and
So you
watched.
knew about that backup as well?
I had heard about it.
Oh, so you told it, Rick, but you didn't tell us?
I know, but we can't help
She
it.
can only talk to
Well,
so
I-
many
no,
people
I
in a
mean,
day,
I'm
Chris.
just-
How about talking to the people that own the garage who can't
I'm
help you out?
just trying to get some clarity. I told Tish told me.
Sarah, seriously, it's not Tish's garage. Why wouldn't you talk to us about
Oh, you
it?
say it's Tish's triangle.
I do not tell you it's Tish's triangle.
Again, for
It's just-
what it's worth, I watched the traffic for the next 3 days, and I saw, yes, the stacking, depending on how it syncs up with the main light at Ethan Lancaster, the stack will occasionally approach 4 or 5 vehicles before it's relieved by holes in traffic. But in general, the flow is adequate.
Well, then I must have
think-
gotten it
No,
all.
no, no,
It could've
I
been
think to
just a
Mary,
bad
I think to
day.
Mary Lou's point, I think there must have been some disaster in
Yeah,
the
because
gate.
they were not moving into
Right.
the garage.
Right.
When
So-
I was sitting there waiting to go forward, they were not moving.
So
in.
there has been, because Pico's in the road, both gas and electric, they had Riggs Zisler and they have Miller Brothers, and they literally just they were parking in our garage area. So I just put up a fence so that the only people that can get in there are Villanova contractors now. I mean, they would just park and stay there and not really care. So it looked like it was us being unattentive, but it was actually.
Well, and they were working,
I was actually-
oh,
And
they
Se-
were
and
down.
Septa was
actually
cruising
gonna-
through.
I was gonna bring that to your attention as well.
Well-
There was an interval where
Oh, I know.
the bottom floor was pickup trucks,
I know.
total pickup.
So
trucks.
we have really tried to step up the, watching that and moving that traffic.
At the December meeting, I suggested for the outbound traffic to Lancaster, I suggested an arm. I noticed you put one up on the Ethan side that's now blocked with that fence you're talking about, but there's still no arm outgoing.
And there is not supposed to be an arm out there. The one that's there on the Ethan side is because that really is only supposed to be used as an emergency exit.
Okay.
I don't want anyone trying to just leave through that way, because when we did our traffic study, and it was determined that that was not a good idea. The only reason for that roadway was in the event that we had an event and the garage filled, Radnor Township or whoever was monitoring the traffic at that event, whether it was, our event people or the Radnor police officers, they could then send them down that road and make a right onto Ethan to go to, the law school parking garage or somewhere else. It was part of our event traffic plan. So that's why that arm is there. But now I've done more than the arm. I have a fence so that when they look down that road, they don't even think that they can go down there. Because it's really not, I don't want people entering from Ethan Avenue there either. So we do have the stop sign, and I've been watching it much closer. I know that my construction manager is watching it because I've put him on alert to look at it. We're gonna have a camera. I do see people stop. I don't see a lot of pedestrians crossing in front of it. So we're monitoring. We're doing the best we can right now.
Right now, it's the eyeball system.
Yep.
That's good.
Well, and look both ways when you cross.
Well, I'm really glad you put the right turn only.
Well, it always had that. It always had that. We just made it bigger.
Oh.
I mean, it did, and it has no left turn. I mean,
Well, that's all right. There's
all
no
the-
left turn off of Garrett onto Lancaster Avenue. And it
And
must
people do.
happen
Or
20
Burlington,
times
or-
a
Or
day.
Absolutely.
any of our streets,
Yeah.
but even people who live in the neighborhood do it all the time.
Right.
We were
So,
talking about that yesterday.
Right,
so
All right.
everybody but me.
I don't either.
All right, can we go on to old business?
Wait, are there any more questions or comments about 5?
I'll put you on speed dial.
Sarah, you call me when you can't get into the pool. You can call me when you have
Yeah.
a problem with the construction.
Not if I'm on the road
We can
going
call you
someplace
every
else.
Don't,
Hands
don't,
free.
don't.
Hands free.
Just as a point of curiosity, the turret, that's it, right? There's no cap or anything going
That's
on top
correct.
of that, that's it.
That's correct.
It's gonna be cool.
So, anyone else, any other comments? Nope, all right, let's do some old business. Old business. This probably is gonna be a lot of Steve Norsini. We
Right.
could probably talk about that, but I will let, if you have any comments to item A, B, or C.
Well, we
and then if there's
received,
any-
we received the grading permits, and we're moving forward on both of the Performing Arts Center and Pike Field
Okay.
projects. Mary Lou covered the timeline for the work and its progress. And as we mentioned in our last couple of meetings, we have gone to the Barleyco neighbors and asked them before this particular project began if they would like additional plantings. There's already a berm there. And so we've had those conversations, and
And we put the plantings where people had asked for them.
Okay.
so
And I did check your grade. I did. The Mayfield was out there today.
Yeah,
I
what
have a
did he say?
picture of it. It was clean.
I don't know, well, we'll see what happens tonight and
I will
tomorrow,
guarantee it will
because
fill up because it's supposed,
It's been backing up, and I don't know if you looked at it, but there's just, the mud hole is like growing, and it's migrating towards my backyard, so.
Okay, well, I had him
don't
go
know,
look
I'm
at it.
hoping he looked at what we're talking about, because,
I'm gonna check it again tomorrow, but he sent me a picture of it and it looks like the one that we were talking about. I wasn't at Villanova today, I was at an off-site, so I asked him to do it, looked at it. It wasn't really messy, so, but
Okay.
he picked it up.
well, no,
and
it's
cleaned
not
it.
messy because the water doesn't go down. In fact, it.
No, I mean, I'm saying there was nothing blocking it. He
Yeah, but I
took the
think-
grate off, he opened it up, and it was clean.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. That's all, fingers crossed that that is all true, because,
Do you all know what the issue is here?
No,
No.
would you like to
I would love to tell you the issue here. So in Barleycone, there are a few neighbors that have the,
I want to say one thing, which I didn't say to you yesterday. We had a conversation yesterday, just a lovely.
thank you, Cheryl, I
might
appreciate
add.
that.
I'm the one who told you about that. You don't remember that, but I pointed
No,
them out.
we walked together. I
Those many
remember.
years ago.
Yeah.
I pointed it out to you because it's always irritated me, and I was hoping that you could do something to make them rip it up and not do that, because I don't think anybody should be dumping water on somebody else's property. But
So-
anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm all at Twitter now.
I know, I can't wait, this ought to be good.
So you've heard for years that we built up the grade on Pike Field, and so as a result of that, people get water in their backyards, which is really not exactly the truth. We built up the grade for Pike Field because the water from Lancaster Avenue was pouring into Pike Field. So it was not a lake, it was not a stream, it was the
A swamp.
runoff from, whatever you want to say, it was the runoff from Lancaster Avenue, and there was a pipe there. So in 1994, we connected that pipe, perforated pipe, and tied it into an inlet down at the bottom of the field. And we raised the field. So the idea was to slow down the flow from Lancaster Avenue. And that was before everyone knew as much as they do today about stormwater management. So it sort of worked, but it didn't really work.
So it's
But
a French drain underneath Pike Field.
Essentially.
Pike Field is supposed to absorb the runoff.
essentially. And then,
Right.
when we did.
At the time when they did it, like, the field was unusable for you as well, because it was so wet and swampy, is
Sure.
what I would call it, but
Right.
they couldn't use it for anything. I mean,
Right.
you know, most
Well,
of the time.
we did use it though, because when
Yeah.
I went to college,
But
we
most
used
of the
it a lot,
time, it
so,
was
right.
squishy
Spongy,
mess.
spongy.
Yeah.
So then we did the softball field, and when we did the softball field, we provided additional stormwater management, that we did not have to do for the softball field, but we did it because there was that man who lived on the other side of the tracks, exactly, who was flooded all the time. So to be good neighbors, we were asked by the township engineer at the time if we would consider doing this, and we did this, and we put in additional stormwater management and kind of tied them all together. And I believe it slowed down the flow in his property. I don't know to what extent it did, but we put that in.
So that
In the
was- so
meantime,
that- so that-
Barleycone-
So that BMP at the time
Mhm.
was, what, a cistern, just to slowly discharge?
No, it's actually the perforated pipe on a bed of stone and wrapped in fabric, similar to what we have, you know, a detention basin.
Right.
So,
But that southeast corner of Barleycone is still tasked with absorbing all that runoff just at a slower rate.
Yes.
yes,
And in
but
about
And see, to me,
2005,
that-
Rick's backyard still would be about 15 feet wide.
I would say to you that what was done in
Didn't slow
1994,
it.
that fill, just filling that in, would never be allowed today environmentally. I mean, it just wouldn't.
Right.
Why?
You're not allowed to raise,
Yeah, what?
you're not allowed to add more soil to certain areas.
Yeah. It just wouldn't, it wouldn't.
Just-
It was done, and it's done, but
Right.
no
Well,
way.
I feel properly understood. I mean, it's the north side, it's like a bowl. North side, there's a raised berm for Lancaster. West side, there's the raised berm that supports, it's the pedestal on which the Performing Arts Center and the parking garage now sit. South side, of course, is the berm and the embankment of the P&W. So the only outlet.
It's your backyard.
And that's the honest truth.
no,
Yeah.
that's not,
It is.
that's, what happens is that the people on Barleycone have their stormwater from their roofs and their, you know, impervious surface that is now running, and it runs to the backyard into our property.
When you think the people on Barleycone, you're talking about specific
the
properties,
three top
not all the
properties.
people on
No.
Barleycone.
Right,
The
and I'm
first
not
three
saying-
properties. The
Correct.
first three properties.
So when
Because
it
we went out
rains, you
yesterday.
see quite a bit of water that runs down there
Sure.
and goes into Cheryl's property. It's not,
And there is in fact a depression, sort of a collection area along that runs north-south that's right against the Barleycone property, right?
They put a sort of a berm in, but it doesn't go all the way up.
Well,
It only starts at about.
Not to disagree with Mr. Kowalski, but there is no berm. What there is the grade that descends into that depression and climbs back out of the
Exactly,
depression.
that's,
Right.
okay,
Maintains
whatever,
the grade.
that thing.
That's not a berm.
That thing in there,
Yeah.
that tunnel or whatever you want,
Right.
and it only goes up so far. So what happens is, because of the natural grade of the land, and plus the first three properties having their gutters on the back of their house drain out to the very edge of the field property, the water all comes down. Some of it goes into that area that's carved out. In fact, at times it can fill all the way up to the top. It's kind of very frightening to see. But a great deal of it also misses that completely and slides into her backyard.
Wasn't that surprising, because,
Yeah, you just have to look
my
at
whole
the
property
contour.
goes to that
Right,
corner.
and the
that
same
lower
thing, and
corner.
the same thing with me, and then continues down, and some of that also ends up in my basement. So it's a very frustrating situation, and the township had them put in this graded drain behind my house in the area between the carved out area and my backyard. This graded drain, which is about, how big it's not that big. It's about maybe, I want to say it's about 4 feet by 4 feet, and that's probably big. And that was supposed to drain the water, but nobody's really maintained that, so now that the natural slope of the land kind of avoids that drain to begin with. And 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, when we had a pretty big rainstorm, this growing area of water around that drain, not going down it, heading towards my backyard. And you can kind of see the muddy imprint of where that is, which is what we were talking about. And all that water, yes, my neighbors who dump water in it, believe me, it's not the original neighbors that are in those houses now. That adds to it, but that's not the volume of water that's going into that depressed area. Not enough water comes off the roof, back roofs of three houses.
Can you take pictures next time of that, please? So we can see that.
Oh, we'd have to go out there in the middle of a
I
storm.
think you're gonna get your opportunity. in
Yep,
48 hours.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can from your
To
window.
return to the story, so the softball, is that the end of the tale, or is there?
yeah, I'm done with the story.
Okay.
Because you guys, you've taken a good thing
All right.
and changed it.
I have
I'm
no
sorry.
idea what to do. I have no idea what to do about
Possibly go to the neighbors and ask them to not run it to our property.
Yeah, who would do that? Would the township
Have
do
to be
that,
the-
or would, see, I was hoping you would do it.
What are
It
they
would
doing? They're
probably
running,
be
they're
the township
connecting
that
their
would have to do it.
downspouts to something along the
And say,
ground and
you
shooting.
can't
Well,
discharge
I
into
think
someone
most
else's.
people have it going toward the front of their property, not to the back of their
Well,
property.
Right.
This is
So it
from
goes
the
to
back,
the
this
public
is
right
their
away
back.
instead of into.
Right, and it would probably
So
have to be
they're
the
taking it
township
too off.
who would have to say that you're
Say it
discharging
wasn't
into
Villanova,
someone
say it
else's
wasn't Villanova,
property.
say it
You can't
was
do
Cheryl
that.
on
Is
the
it
other
an
side.
individual discharging?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Why?
The first 3 houses
Why?
have their gutters going off the back into their field, which is not right either.
No, they have
Wow.
big PVC piping too.
Yeah.
So it's been replaced, that's not the original piping that was
Right.
there. I
So
mean,
instead of sending it out to the gutter,
Straight.
the street,
Or
it's
on their
coming,
property.
it's going to them, and that's not right either.
Well, ideally, it's supposed to stay on their property
Right,
and not
exactly.
go anywhere.
Well,
Right.
yes, I mean, in a
Today.
wonderful world.
Yeah.
Well,
Back
Under,
when those houses-
under all the new stormwater
Exactly.
rules.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think if I understand the township's plans correctly, we're all due for some sort of, stormwater audit
Mhm.
in regards to the stormwater fee. So to the extent that these guys are in violation.
Well,
that's
should
just
one of us call the
it'll
township and
catch up-
say,
it'll catch
we
up.
have 3 neighbors, numbers, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yes.
You
That
should
are
send-
in violation and are
send
dumping
Bob-
No, I
litter.
think you should write a letter.
No,
It's a good
Send
idea.
Bob's and Caskey an email, and then
Yeah,
we'll send
and
some.
just say,
Or a-
could you
or a
look into
letter.
this? I mean, you don't have to be obnoxious about it, just
Yeah,
say,
just-
could you look into this, because it's discharging into mine and theirs,
Or
which is
you-
not right.
Or you can email me, and then I can pass that on.
Why don't
to
you
Bob.
take care of it?
I just need to know I'm happy
He
to, I
needs
just
to
need
know
to
the
know the
addresses.
addresses, okay?
Numbers,
Well, let's do
Let's
that,
not do
let's
it
do
now.
that, let's do that privately.
may want to give them a heads up.
All right, is there,
Well,
Pikefield, so do you have an idea when work is gonna, I mean, I saw it from,
When it's going to begin?
yeah, I guess it's all weather
Trailers are
dependent.
coming.
No, it's almost done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not
I mean,
there. Okay.
as of this morning, I think 3/4 of it was done with the temporary topping.
Okay.
And one of the trailers arrived, and tomorrow 2 more trailers arrive.
Good.
In the little green flags area, Harold didn't mention, that was kind of like soggy yesterday, the dry day.
We went out
It
to
was
look,
all
because you had
soggy.
said to me about the extra buffer that you had put in, and had I seen it, and I said, kind of, sort of, from my house. But Anna Maria and I went out and walked out there, and in the area between where your buffer is and that depressed area,
Mhm.
it was so soggy, she wouldn't walk on it. I had boots on.
New sneakers.
And it was so soggy, and in fact, there was sitting water there, and that was yesterday when it hadn't rained
Well,
for.
that's the frost coming
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of
it's
the ground.
been
Up
raining
at the
for-
bottom of
Right.
our vegetable garden is like a bog right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I
The
don't know.
moisture's coming out of the ground. The soil's defrosting, unfreezing, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will
And
be
all weekend,
interesting.
yeah, right.
yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, celebrating spring, yay. Let's move on.
Okay, so, new business, I will just, retouch on some of the things I said, at the board meeting on Monday night. If there's any chance where you guys would like to be partners with, Aldwin Lane, kind of a re-beautification of that, planting more trees or anything along those lines. The Ithan sidewalk, which from where that little entrance is to the triangle to the overpass, there are a couple of loose cinders that are kind of up that you could be considered replacing them. Also the sidewalk from Barleycombe to Lancaster. And then if you guys would be interested in getting grants, for the sidewalks, we'd love to have you as a partner, or kind of the beautification of what I call Garrett Hill East, which is our gateway from Garrett Hill, which is from the overpass, the trolley overpass to the business complex. There's that big wall of rocks. It's a PICO project issue. It is a SEPTA issue. It would be our issue, and if you guys would like to come in, help us get a grant to kind of make it pretty, make the first thing that you see when you come in not a pile of rocks. And you do have a lot of a lot of students that live there, we would appreciate it. So that's kind of what I brought up on Monday night. Then there's the issue of, I guess, the tent for the soccer in the back. I don't know what's going on with that. The dome. If you guys.
Well, first of all, as Mary Lou said, I'm happy to touch on this, but this is a CICD Communication and Review Committee meeting.
That's right.
Okay.
So moving forward, the agenda should stick to that. We are having a neighbors meeting, sort of an open house. We'll have hopefully a lot of people there, presenting different areas of the campus on March 27th.
Okay.
That's been advertised via my email, and I'll do that again. Happy to go into more detail. Can't really talk about the dome. We've appealed the decision. It's now with the Court of Common Pleas in Delaware County. But we're pursuing our rights as a landowner. Certainly understand the neighbors' concerns, but we also have concerns of our own, and so we believe this is the right thing to do for the university and our student athletes. For Audubon Triangle, we've planted 122 trees and shrubs as part of this project. Those went in already. Of those, there's 30 flowering trees. These are rough numbers, 40 canopy trees, 20 evergreen shrubs, and 30 evergreen trees. That adds up to 120, so there's 2 more.
Okay.
On the triangle?
Yes.
Yeah.
That triangle is university property. We've certainly deed restricted it in perpetuity as a result of the conditional use process for the CICD. So we like the way it is. We use it for passive recreation. We know the neighbors do as well. We also know they use it for a place to put their brush when they don't want to take it out on their own.
Okay.
So we're pretty pleased with the way it is right now.
Okay.
As I mentioned in our conversation about grants, we can only apply for help for property that we own or control. Once we get past the university's boundaries, there's a tremendous amount of property owners to work with to negotiate rights of way, easements, bringing that sidewalk back off from the curb. That is something that the township needs to do, working with those homeowners. As Bob mentioned at the meeting the other night, we were in support of that effort and indicated as such as part of the request, and we'd be happy to do that again. But as I also just indicated, we've taken significant steps to address the issue of pedestrian safety in front of our property where we can, and we're not done with that. To see that as a perpetual obligation, and I think Mary Lou and I were discussing the sidewalk on South Ithan Avenue on the east side along the south campus, recognizing that there are some areas where it needs some time and attention, and that's neither one of us can decide to do that right now, but that's something we want to take a look at and hopefully address, especially since SEPA's going to be doing some work there, and we're going to be finished with our work in the not too distant future, so we can improve that. Certainly look at doing that. And as far as Garrett Hill, that doesn't necessarily seem like a match with us. I know as part of our conditional use or land development, we had $175,000 in recreation fees that were paid, and I know that went to Crum Park. Our students, Sarah could speak to this. We try very hard to have our students be service-oriented locally as well as regionally. We participate in a lot of projects here in the township. The Gateway Enhancement District, we've cleaned up that stretch of Route 476 on our large day of service every September. For the last couple of years, we've worked in the Skunk Hollow Community Garden. We've worked at the United Methodist Church in Garrett Hill. We've done a lot of local service work, so if there's a service opportunity that we can have students do on those or other days, we'd be happy to do that. But I'm not sure that sounds like something that Villanova can invest in, especially with the other partners you have at play. But I did hear your presentation the other night, Sean, and I have to express my frustration. You didn't present it that way, the way you did here. You sort of accused us of hiding behind our nonprofit status. You represented that we were takers and not givers, and that's really not the way to build a relationship. It's really not the way to start out a conversation, one that finishes with asking us for help and resources. So if you're truly committed to an open dialogue with the university, if you're truly interested in having a relationship, I would ask you to respectfully think about how you consider us and treat us as a constituent and member of your ward and the Radnor community.
I thank you for your comments. I do respectfully disagree, but I do thank you for your comments regarding that.
Can I just say, the March 27th meeting, is that here?
No, it's on campus. It's in Bartley Hall in the Curly Exchange. It's in the ground floor, right next to the guard booth, the main entrance to campus. We renovated that area, and there's a room off to the side. It'll be well marked.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
But we're just going for like student coffee.
Well, when you come to a meeting that I host, there's always cookies. So,
Always cookies.
Always cookies.
You know, yeah, no,
We're
getting.
casual.
All right, now getting back to your comment, you know, I mean, there are certain issues that, you know, I would like to bring up. You know, for instance, like the dome, where, you know, you can't talk about it, and I get it, there's a lawsuit going on now where there's an issue where it's going to.
It's only an appeal, it's not a
An
lawsuit.
appeal, okay. Pardon? An
And it's
appeal.
also frankly, outside the remit of this.
Yeah, no, it is outside, but there are comments that sometimes I do disagree with, so, you know, when you say that you try to be good neighbors, that's fine. So, you know, and again, I do respectfully disagree, but you're entitled to your opinions, I do thank you for sharing that. So does anybody have anything else, or can we talk
Yeah,
about
can I
subject?
go back to
Sure.
my question?
Sure.
Am I worried about that?
Yeah, no, yes. The question was, because of the new ADA, which, thank goodness, I mean, it's hysterical they're putting it there, that's okay, since there's no place to park. But.
And the other side is, right?
And right,
We
and
kinda
it's like,
hang on.
okay.
If you're ADA, they're
There's-
gonna have a good time getting it.
Yeah, exactly, how do you do that, yeah, right, exactly, and the other thing is, you know, there's exactly 4 on Septal, but anyway, but they're putting in, which you explained to me, that they are putting in, it's like 6,000 square feet of, I always do this, impervious thing, only it's split in half, so it's like 3,000 on your side and 3,000 on the south.
And to be honest with you, Jane, I don't know the exact figures.
Well, that's what he
was
said the other
they-
night at the meeting.
Right, so,
Give or take, he
again,
said.
yeah.
But will it affect the
It says
flooding in
offshore.
the garage?
I'm
Oh,
not
there we go.
concerned about it flooding the garage.
You are,
However,
okay.
I don't know if it will
Or
affect the
foundation,
historic-
or
Do I need to-
anything like that?
I hope not, I mean, that would
there we
be
go.
really, I can't, no, it will not.
SEPTA has a team of engineers, you know,
Yeah.
this is entirely on their property, and to Sarah's point, they have to manage that stormwater on their property. We've worked closely with them.
Okay.
Because it abuts our property.
I
It's
mean,
their.
it's right on top of you, I mean, that's.
And the meeting packet the other night included the agreement that we have with SEPTA
Okay.
to let them use our property for this purpose, for the construction project. Their team is on it. They've done a lot of this work at the other stations on this line. And if you look at the other stations that they've done, the slopes at the stadium station pale in comparison to, what's the one at the bottom of?
Gulf Mill.
Is it Gulf Mills? And then they've done a couple of them by me in Havertown and Ardmore and Armour Junction.
Right. But you know what, those aren't ADA compliant.
They are. The one at Eagle Road, they put a huge switchback ramp in there.
Okay, well, then they haven't changed stuff online that I got
Yeah.
today.
That's,
They show
they
only
call
4.
that Winwood.
Oh, is that Winwood?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
That's the Winwood station.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Jane,
one-
have they in fact upgraded new plans? Or are we still
I
looking at
didn't
the
s-
same plans?
No, the only ones I
Because-
saw were the ones.
Because as was pointed out Monday night, the plans that are available for view to the public are unreadable. I mean, there's.
Correct.
So there's no way to tell what's being proposed here.
Right.
So step one would be to get reliable plans.
Well, that would be the.
One thing I can tell you about the project that I'm happy about that doesn't have to do with stormwater is on the south side of the tracks.
South side, okay.
Between the tracks and Stanford Hall.
Yes.
There is open access to the right-of-way, SEPTA Pico right-of-way.
Okay.
And we were noticing, just noticing, perhaps it's been a longer time, over the past few years for our basketball games.
Oh, they use it
people
all
were
the
parking.
oh, absolutely.
So as part of the project,
Okay.
they're putting in a gate just off the curb line. So you can pull a truck up there, get out, unlock the gate, and move in, but it'll prevent that kind of parking.
That's-
And more importantly,
you're-
someone jumped the curb right in front of me one night while I was parking down there.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's not the kind of pedestrian
Right.
vehicle interaction we want.
Correct. Oh, that's good.
So we can talk about SEPTA a little, and I know that this is not really,
Our project.
I know it's not your issue.
It is our issue, it's not our project.
Okay. It's gonna be everybody's issue. So
It's the township's issue, but it's
Well-
not their project.
So, Rick and I walked actually the whole grounds from Aldwin Lane as well as your triangle, and we went on the top of the garage, and we took some pictures. So I guess adding 3,000 or 6,000 square feet is, you know, troublesome. It's not you, because there's this little stretch right here of land, basically, because this is right here is basically, you know, the garage. Then there's this little.
Can you rotate that?
I will try. How do we?
Right up at
You
the
can-
top, at the top.
We could also.
So you rotate.
Yeah, that may be. Oh, you know what? So
Neck stretches.
I had my phone over 5 stories, and I just was really scared to drop it. So.
That's
that is what-
Well, too many.
Okay, is
Stop.
that
There you
better?
go.
All right,
Stop.
there we
There
go.
you
Okay, so this would be looking, obviously, on the
West.
north, okay. All right, well,
So we're-
looking west,
you're
but
in
this
the
is the north
garage.
side and that's the south side.
Yes.
So this is the garage. Now, there's less, I think there's less impervious ground than what we think, because right here, right there is gonna be an access road, is that correct, to
So
the park? Or
that, when
this
they're
right
done,
here, yes.
that becomes grass again, and it goes over, there's actually egg crates, plastic crates
Okay.
underneath that. The reason it's all a mess is because no one gave it any time to dry
That's-
before
that's
we
right.
had SEPTA's gigantic trucks and rip it up.
Okay.
That's the fire lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
So-
our access to the back of the field.
But the sidewalk
That-
remains, right?
Sure.
The sidewalk here remains.
It does.
Okay.
So.
That is the ADA access to the field.
Exactly.
Okay, so let me, go back. Okay, so right here, so this is when you walk, right here, and then that, I guess, is for cars to go through, or that's gonna
That's
be?
the fire lane.
That's the fire lane.
That's the
Okay,
fire
and that's gonna
lane.
be grass though, or not?
It's actually, it's grass on top of egg crates, so
Okay.
that it's a pervious surface.
Good, so it won't be,
It will not be a drive.
okay. And then the other thing is, I guess we were looking at ways to capture some of this water that is gonna be coming down, so I think Rick had 2 ideas.
The question I had, I mean, obviously they're putting very large holes in the Pico right away. To the extent, therefore, that they have access to and rights to manipulate the Pico right away, what's stopping them from putting a BNP in the Pico right away? Why are they claiming it's hardship? Why do they need a waiver? I don't know.
Not your problem. Not my job.
Well, that's something that we
Big
can,
job.
that's something that we should ask Steve and
Yeah.
ask the people from SEPTA or
Because it's a
Pico.
little bit bigger than you're in your mind's eye, that there's a little bit more room.
There was an idea, I don't know, again, to ask here, like, I don't know what this is, obviously, you probably don't know, some big box that they're storing something on. I did get a chance to look at, again, this is more SEPTA's problem than Villanova's problem. I did notice that this is on the Aldwin Lane side. You know, I don't know if you are gonna put a elevator on, I guess the Aldwin, that would make it real hard for someone in a wheelchair.
We're waiting for SEPTA to schedule the ramp
Okay.
there.
Okay, and a ramp to get up to,
The
okay.
8 switchbacks.
So
Yeah.
you
Which is
actually-
what it's gonna take.
Do you actually have good confidence that SEPTA will put a ramp on the south side?
We do, we couldn't tell you whether that's next year, next 5 years, or what.
Or next century.
I did notice
So how
some
would we
cracking,
arrange
I
that?
mean, again, so your students cross over and your employees we saw. So there is an area, like right here, that was cracked, and I'm just throwing it out there. And then that is, again, maybe an issue. I don't want to see any students or anyone get hurt, because this looks like it's old and very, very worn. And they're actually on the stadium side too, that, and again, it's not your issue, but it is something that I will be bringing up to SEPTA, that it is a safety concern of mine.
Why do you have these? Can you roll back to the?
Why do you suppose they're doing it on the
There you
stadium
go.
stop and
There.
they haven't done it on the
Where there's
Aldwin Lane
parking.
side or whatever you call it?
And by the way, that is Rick right there, who was
Oh,
running out of
where's
the
that guy?
photo I took of him.
Photobomb.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh,
I
was
think,
there photo
Sarah,
bomb?
that
Where?
you, oh, I was gonna answer a question real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know, my best guess is that they've had this schedule for a long time, and our project happened to be.
Oh, I know they've
on top
had
of
it since 2005 because I did all the research on the Garrett Hill
Yeah.
Station because the consultant wanted to move it down almost to the tunnel so he could run a tunnel under the tracks so they could run the trail. I mean,
Okay.
there was an ulterior
Yeah.
motive
Yeah.
that
So,
was very interesting.
some of it has to do with ridership as well. I don't know if there's more people that get off here than that get off at the,
Do they use the
they do,
that
there's a
stadium
decent
station?
crowd on that
Stadium?
platform.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That coming to Villanova?
Not as many students as I'd like, but a lot of employees.
A lot of employees and Agnes Irwin kids.
Rosemont as well. There's some
Yeah.
that just keep walking down, I think.
Well, that's good to hear, actually.
Rick, I'm sorry.
Fewer cars
Have to
on
make
the
it more.
road.
Yeah.
Right.
Rick?
No, I just had one quick question. All the way along here, you know, let's see the stump still, there was a tree screen planted the last year, and they're all gone. They've been cut down, presumably to make accommodation for acceptance plans. Are those
Right.
trees coming back? Can they be relocated?
That's
You can see some of them,
Yeah,
right?
any that were ours, I think there was only one that was ours that they took down, which was disease. It was like split in between both properties.
No, there was a screen of brand new.
No, she's talking about the one that was on our property.
Yeah.
So those are septic.
So,
systems?
Sean, that's
Yeah. And
what
if
they
if
want to
it's
tie all the
even
water
close to their
into,
tracks,
that they were talking
they
about
were
on
out
Monday
there
night?
like cutting them down.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other thing too is, you know, again, to beautify the neighborhood, not an ask, but would you guys consider repainting that once the construction's done or not?
It was just repainted, or the other side was.
No.
That side?
No, the side, I'm sorry, the students did it. this
Students
side.
do it every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, I guess a lot of traffic, got the, okay.
It's a very dangerous place to do any work,
Yeah.
there's no sidewalk there.
Okay. These things right here, we found out, allow water through but capture debris, so they're not blocking, they are not blocking the drains, because we had a, in theory.
In theory, it seems like to guard against construction debris and stirred up dirt, gravel and so forth, to keep that sort of thing from going into the stormwater system and through the storm drains. Apparently the plan is to put silk socks directly in front of the openings of the storm drains, which I guess works if your intention is to keep debris out of the storm drains. But I think it works pretty good to keep water out of the storm drains too.
Well,
Guess we'll
I
find
guess
out tomorrow.
We'll find out real soon, so,
Not sure how that works.
so that, oh, and then the other thing too is, this is your little stream, your, what is this?
Valley Run.
Valley
That's
Run,
Valley
that's
Run.
the creek. So, Rick had a couple ideas that may suit this, I don't know.
I think those ideas, I've floated a
Mhm.
modest proposal, shall we say, to staff largely, to try and address all these questions in one big engineering solution. But I think I'll let staff digest it.
Okay.
And see what they come back with.
So I guess our proposal, what we're gonna do is ask to get some engineers to look if SEPTA, and they're most likely going to pave this, to pave anywhere between 3,000 to 6,000 square feet, what we can do to prevent the flooding and this runoff. So I think that was what I will ask. I think, you know, we can look at, not a retention pond, we would need Owen Lane, that triangle, which I don't think you'd want to give, or maybe something
Well,
underground to catch some of that water, where you could kind of.
Yeah, I think, as I understand that from the outcome of last Monday night's meeting, is that there really isn't that much that can be done, at least not done cheaply, to resolve this additional stormwater runoff that's going to result as a result of these platform improvements. However, what's left to do is to somehow capture this water before it gets onto the east side, north-south running sidewalk. those platforms are gonna dump straight across the sidewalk into the roadway. So it seems like an obvious solution would be to find a way to capture that water before it gets on the sidewalk, before it gets into the street. What you do with it then is the hard part. You're still, I think, stuck with routing it underneath Hythe and into the existing stormwater takeaway that runs south to Conestoga. Nobody likes that, but that's where the water's gonna go anyway, even if you do nothing. If you do nothing, it's just gonna run down the hill, across the sidewalk, pool, and eventually it'll go into the existing storm drains.
Well, even on the south side, it will go back toward Fairfax and Brooklyn too, because that's just the way, that's the way the topography is.
Yeah.
Right.
It goes
I think-
by
I
over
think-
that
I
way.
think the vast majority of the water's gonna run west into Hythe. This question is how you catch it and where. You can leave it alone, it'll pool, it'll make a lake underneath P&W Bridge like it does now. Catch it, route it underground, then you're faced with the question of what to do with it. You can put it into the existing stormwater takeaway, that's expensive. A crazy solution would be to catch it, route it underground, instead of put it into the existing stormwater takeaway, route it into a retention basin that we build in that portion of the Alden Triangle that's bounded by Valley Run, Hythe, and the Pico right away. Grassed around, planted around appropriately, that could actually treat a great deal of that stormwater. It could actually sweeten that stormwater before it gets into the system and flows south into Valley Run and Darby Creek.
I think tonight's gonna be a good, I don't mean to interrupt, tonight's gonna be a good test, and tomorrow with this nor'easter that we have, that we can kinda at least see, especially with this construction, what this is gonna do. Again, it's not your issue, and I understand,
Well, no, it's not
but-
Villanova's issue.
No, but we want it so it doesn't flood your properties and our residents as well, so.
Obviously,
we look
Villanova
forward.
would be involved since it's your property.
Mhm.
On the other hand, SEPTA is creating the problem or exacerbating the problem. Pico's involved because they too are exacerbating the problem, and to the extent that the Pico right-of-way has to be maintained, very low growth to no growth, they're constantly wiping out anything that grows there of any substantial size. Therefore, nothing growing there is helping with the reabsorption of the water problem. So they are actually a contributor to this issue as well as SEPTA is. The township, of course, they're responsible for the road. The county is responsible for Hythe, as far as I know, it's a county road. So all these partners, there's an opportunity for a five-way deal here to deal with this particular problem. Once SEPTA's done and they've moved on, these partners are going to drift away, and the eventual solution of what to do with the lake that's forming every time it rains underneath the P&W Bridge, that's going to fall squarely on the township alone. So I would say move on it now.
I agree, but I think getting 5 people at the table is gonna be difficult, but I would be up for that, so.
Chris, the area behind the south dorms, last year, the Delaware River Keeper was getting a group of real amateurs together to look at some of these streams, and we took Valley Run, because of course it runs through Macron Park. There's that very swampy area behind the dorms on the south campus. Does that ever fill up?
I honestly don't know.
Go back there.
Because
I try
is
not to go
that
back there.
where you stuff could be
Well, that
addressed?
used to be a lake.
I was
It used
just
to be a
curious.
pond that kids ice skated on. My husband, where
Yeah.
those dorms are, there was a lovely pond that everyone skated on back in the 50s, before the first bunch came up. So there was lots of water there. And the retention area back there is huge. So I
It is
imagine
huge,
it's
so-
huge.
Is there a way to direct this water to that area?
Well, I think these are the questions that we need to ask SEPTA.
Right.
We need to get an engineer, so I guess I would ask.
But then it
Chris-
would be
well, yeah, I'd
your
ask
issue too.
Chris, and that if you
Dump it
have
in your
questions,
retention pond.
if you have questions or concerns, to bring them up with SEPTA and with Steve Norsini at the next meeting.
But you asked SEPTA to go back and come up with a solution, right?
Yes,
So-
We
Yeah.
are, and I think that we're gonna need some engineers as well to make sure.
I would encourage you to give SEPTA a chance. From what I've seen from them, they take stormwater seriously. So
Mhm.
it's too bad that that wasn't reflected in its first pass.
Uh-huh.
But I'm curious to see what they come up with and then decide how to move forward as a
Right.
result of that. So,
Okay.
you know, again, we've got 4 stations on our campus, if you include the inn, plus a bus stop. So we have a lot of dealings with them, and you know, they don't move as quickly as you'd like. But other than that, they seem to take this kind of stuff very seriously. So,
Well, we want you to be a valued stakeholder and partner in this project.
And you are also, when are they doing the evaluation again on Valley Run? Isn't that coming up sometime, brother?
it got approved at the last commissioners meeting, right? So then it's
Well,
up to
$13,000.
Okay, well,
Route 2 will have to figure that out.
okay. I didn't know if you knew a date yet or
No,
not.
they haven't reached out to us to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
I will ask anyone, does anyone have any more new business? Any more comments?
I have a few things for public comment.
Great.
Or, some of them are kind of questions
Sure.
again, but, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I'm sorry, I think we've beat this step up. All right,
Yes,
Anne Marie.
so on the questions front, you mentioned that you've been in touch with all the Barley Cone neighbors. You had said that you were in touch with them for that December meeting, and I saw the email that you sent out, and 2 of the recipients on the email are no longer residents of our street. I just
Oh,
was
okay.
wondering if you have done more than send to that list. I mean, have you updated that list?
I didn't know that they changed over.
Okay, so you haven't heard back from those 2 households because you didn't?
I didn't really hear
So
back
the
from.
fact-
I didn't really hear back from anybody.
Yeah, so Lois and Ben no longer live
We know
there,
that,
and,
yeah.
and Lois has moved out, and the Clarks are also not there, so might want to get in touch with those additional 2 houses. I did try and reach out to them
Okay.
really briefly on paper, but I don't have contact information to offer you.
The Saks and, what was the other one?
Just the next house down, the Clarks.
Clark's.
There's, so your contact information is not
Yeah,
up to
yeah,
date.
I'll just go back. I
Just-
reorient myself with the
Went to-
addresses.
Because you said you had reached out to everybody about the berm planting, and so it seems like if that's your list, you have a couple houses.
We
on your
reached
list.
out to them about the berm planting, who were the interested parties when we got the CICD.
Right, they were there
So,
and then.
they were there then.
Right, no, I'm
And
saying.
So,
but
we
now-
haven't reached out to new people,
Okay.
and we wouldn't, I don't think.
Well, I thought.
What about the one, you're right, the one
thought
in
you said
December we were talking
today.
about, I was going back a little bit further, but in December, the outreach was about the work we were doing on, temporary work on Pike Field.
Okay.
So you're right, I missed them in that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you knew that there was some,
But it seems like your street talks a lot, so I'm hoping you guys can be our ambassadors, deliver our information, give them my card, tell them to come for cookies on the 27th.
Is Pike Sidewalk going to be closed as part of the performing arts? Or, I mean, I've noticed like everything's getting closer to, everything's getting funneled closer and closer to the traffic, but it's not closed yet. So are you
No,
planning on
it's not.
closing anything?
No.
Okay. And I had some,
I should say,
Yeah.
no, we're not targeting closing that for any reason right now. However, I'm sure that there could be a point where we have to tie something into this. I don't think there's anything in the street that we're doing, but if we do, we'll have, a path around that.
Okay.
But there's nothing in the near future.
Okay. And I emailed Bob in advance of the meeting to find out if I could show some video, and he said, sure. And then I don't see Bob here, so I don't know what I'm doing, but,
Let me do a
I-
video on here.
no, I have a,
We can't, it's gotta go up on here because it's
just so
camera.
that people can see it, yeah. I
But
mean-
I want the people at home to see it as well that are
Well,
watching.
right, you're
So how-
machine in,
I
I
just-
just, do I need
Yeah.
to?
So
over
let's
there?
try to, hopefully this doesn't knock me out.
I didn't have time to edit it down, so I
No
just kind of
worries,
cut and get
so-
the clips.
If I have to sign in, then
Because
that's.
I think sometimes when we talk about the locations on the plan, people don't actually know the locations we're talking about.
You would have to
Just a,
have a flash drive. You should.
I think I just need to.
A cord.
What?
You just need the cord, right?
If this thing works, there you go.
So what is the official name for the that little T on, the little T on the access
It's
road.
HDMI. is what you're-
The name for the,
Access road behind the Performing Arts Center?
yeah, is that
I
what
don't think it has a name.
And the little triangle-y T thing.
Hessman Drive.
No.
Just
I would never have, I did not want that to be there.
see it in there.
So please don't ever name it after me. Okay, so this is, wait, we can go full here, so that you can, people can actually see where the stop sign is. This is,
It's hard.
To which no one is paying any attention.
Just like every other stop sign.
well, yeah. But, I mean,
California
this,
style.
for anybody who doesn't walk this
Yep.
used to be a sidewalk with one little driveway that goes out where everybody, it was obvious it was a sidewalk, and to get out of the driveway, you have to wait for the pedestrians to continue to use the sidewalk. And now it is a turn in 2 different ways from Lancaster and a speed ramp with a crosswalk. And this is a very slow day, but it's not atypical. I'm hoping to make this bigger.
Bigger?
But Anna Marie, I don't mean to.
I want people to see cars rolling
So,
through the
but
stop
what would your
sign.
proposed solution be?
I have suggested an arm that people actually
But
have
that's
to
not gonna,
stop.
that's not gonna
They're
happen.
still gonna roll through it.
Anna Marie, that crosswalk is more well marked than the driveway that was there previously.
The stop sign is up here, but people are disregarding your stop sign.
They see it.
They can't,
You absolutely can see it. driving.
Do you think there's more traffic coming out there now, out of that particular?
Well, there is.
oh
the
yeah,
garage
absolutely, the
will-
volume, so like if you,
Right.
and if I go earlier, I went late in here because, I went late in the video because I didn't capture the stop sign in the beginning of it. Here, wait, toast.
They go to McDonald's. It's amazing.
Okay, here we go. So these people are stopped primarily because there's a car in front of them. But typically, what people do when they're coming down the access road is they just go rolling through your stop sign, rolling through. A lot of them stop right in the crosswalk. There's a point at which, some joggers come down and they're like, they have to go behind the car because it's in the middle of the crosswalk. If people stop at all, it's not at the stop sign.
I see what you're saying. It's almost like a yield. It's almost like a triangle yield.
They're treating it like a yield.
But that.
But this is a slow day.
No, so no. Can I make a comment to that? Like, I agree with you with that, and as much as I understand it's a safety issue, that is a function of either your police or Radnor police citing cars for not stopping at a. You can't
You can
fix.
design differently. Like, for example, if there's an automated arm that goes up after you stop.
What if there was one of those push
Yeah, I
button
don't
things,
think-
with the light that people use on crosswalks, other crosswalks?
I don't think they
I'm
would
waiting to
stop
see
for
the
that.
pedestrian.
Right, they're running over.
At this moment, I went over and I was like, okay, I can capture some people. There's someone ran crossing the street, they ran around the thing. That's not atypical. There were not, and we have pregnant ladies, someone actually does stop for her with a black. I gotta take notes, someone stops for a pregnant lady.
Someone going.
That's good. But that's not what happens every time.
I go through the crosswalk at Eichen Avenue because there's no blinking light at the time. If there's a student there, I stop.
So hold on. So Anne Marie, maybe you need a sign that says "Do not block the pedestrian pathway." Like,
I don't know if they need
block
more
the block.
signage. I think the
But-
stop
but
sign
I
is
don't-
up a little high.
Sure.
But what I want to illustrate is what people are doing, because you said you've been watching and you were seeing people stop. And every time I watch, I see people rolling through. So this is what I'm seeing. And they're going fairly slowly, and this is low volume. But this is just the day I happen to have a few
That
minutes to
person
run
did stop.
down.
I see. They're using it. They're using it as
It's
a
like a
yield.
law rep.
Yeah, they're using it as a
And
yield.
this is due to the design change, and that's my point.
There is no design change.
The design change from it having been a sidewalk to now it's an outlet, which
It was
is
a
like a street.
driveway
It's a
there,
street
right.
now. And it's a different thing now, and they're behaving differently. And this is not an insignificant point. I missed the meeting where they actually approved the design, and I was horrified to find out that they approved turning in, because that gets addressed a little bit, if we're stuck with turning in. Okay, so the other two things that I wanted to illustrate with this video are when you have people going, there's no place for pedestrians on either side of this, and people walk down during the events, and I didn't capture a lot of people. You'll see in this video maybe a couple people walking down, but when there's a bigger event, you have groups of people walking down this. There's nowhere for pedestrians, and there's people driving in, driving out on both sides. And this is something I've described in other meetings, and I'm trying to capture a little bit of video of what I'm talking about, because people don't seem to understand
Anna Marie,
what's happening.
I understand.
Okay.
I don't agree with you.
So I'm showing you what's happening.
I know,
I know, but I don't
and the
see
video's
anything
not
else.
backing up your
Right.
point.
Well, one
This
thing
is a
that
slow
she made
day.
to
To be
me,
clear, and this has been
once you
called
have
out.
dwarfs,
This
here
has
we
been
have the
called out
guy-
by our
people in
meeting.
those
Here we
dwarfs
have
are jamming
pedestrian,
people
sidewalk.
walking.
Pedestrian
Guys,
belt,
guys,
walking in
guys,
traffic.
one person at a time, please.
Said, once there are people in the dorms, aren't you gonna have more people walking down that side of Lancaster using that sidewalk? So it'll become a much bigger issue?
I don't think so.
Right, I don't think.
I
If
don't
they're
know.
living in the
But if
dorms,
it
they're
is,
gonna
I
come
guess
out
we
the other
have to
side of
address
the
them.
garage.
You know
I've
what I'm
seen
saying
large
about one of
groups
those lights
people
that they
walking down
use?
this.
But they'll fly through that too.
Just
What
a
would make
question,
them stop
when-
that?
Yeah,
Just because you put a light there?
Yeah.
No one's
You
saying
know, one of those
enforce-
blinking lights.
I know,
that
but
look
if no one
inside
enforces
windows.
it,
No,
No,
no, it's not.
grass
I
or
just
anything?
alerting them,
There'll be
that's all.
that grass area that's there.
Just that. How close is that retaining wall that PAC sits on to that driveway? How much space is there between the wall and the back sides retain, you're putting up a wall to level out the playing field?
I see what you're saying, it's, yeah.
Isn't there a
It's
wall
looked
going
at
out
more of a
there?
yield than anything.
The back wall of the building is there.
Oh, all right, it is? I thought there was, you were
There
raising
should be
the
a
grade of it or
sidewalk
to
there.
level it out.
Right,
No, the back, it'll
It's
be
really
inside that
t-
fence line right there.
the pedestrian, and there
And will there
weren't that
be
many
any
people
grass
out when I
between
was
the back
videoing.
wall and the?
I wasn't able to capture that
You
because,
gotta catch
Yeah,
it.
see,
That's how you
no.
back
Sorry,
up.
go ahead.
wait, I don't
Not
have
the
to back
single
up my
performing
phone,
arts
this is,
center on the driveway.
there aren't a lot
Okay.
of people that day.
On the other side.
That doesn't mean that
I'm trying
you
to-
can see that
there's
there's
like
no place
I
for
know.
people to
I'm
go.
sorry.
We've lost control of the meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
I really just want people to understand the location I'm talking about, the problem I'm talking about. It's
All right.
not, this is not during one of the large events. During the large events, when I have not been videotaping, I've seen large groups of people walking down there. I've seen the backups that Sarah's talking about on Lancaster Avenue going west in the middle of the traffic. It's getting harder to turn onto my street because of that traffic and because of these people whizzing out of the parking garage. There's no break in the traffic between the people coming from the light and the people coming out of the traffic. So I just.
No,
I
no, no,
wanted to-
it's noted, I see your concern, I understand your concern. It is a concern, people are gonna roll through that stop sign, and let's look at maybe, look at it, let's let them finish this project and let's just see how this goes, and if it needs correction, I'm all for correcting it.
I wanted to know what was the reason that an arm will not work for you
Okay.
on
I
the
think there's
outbound
a-
traffic.
Because it's gonna slow traffic down even
That's
more.
the point.
Um,
Outbound from the garage.
Anna
They
Marie,
should be
Anna
slowed
Marie.
down if they're disrupting
I
pedestrians.
don't agree that the problem is the same that you're describing. I recognize your concern, but I don't think it's something that needs a solution.
Okay, so you think that reduced pedestrian safety at that location is acceptable?
I think that your claim of reduced pedestrian safety is not accurate.
Okay. So
All right.
how often do you walk that?
I think probably Commissioner Fari's suggestion is the one we should probably go with tonight, which is to await the completion of the project and assessment at that time of what the new traffic patterns are, what the new pedestrian patterns are, and what the new safety concerns have eventually.
We're building at that
No, no,
location
no,
now with
no,
the trucks and stuff.
no, we
And
get
the
your
argument you're
concerns.
against is always going to be that it is a temporary situation, wait and see.
So-
So I think what you need to do is in fact,
Your concern is noted. I mean, I have it noted. We can look, it's a traffic issue. We can look at it on the traffic issue side. Let's give it, and I understand you're uncomfortable with it. I don't want to see anyone get hit. I don't want to see a jogger get hit, a student get hit, but let's give it a little bit more time. Hopefully, nothing bad happens, and then we can revisit it. It is a concern. We will note your concern about the arm. It may work, it may not work, but I think that we do need to give it more time, and that is something that we can talk to staff traffic about to see if that is a viable solution. Is that?
I'm just concerned that there's no plan to improve it, that's my
Okay,
concern.
let's, you're, like you said, it is noted. I understand your concern. We agree with your concern. There may be more than one solution. I am not an expert. I don't know if Chris or anyone here is an expert. That may be an issue for staff traffic as well as your.
Staff traffic deals with public roads.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is an egress to a public road, so let's,
Okay.
I'm trying to work here with you guys, so if there's a solution down the pike, then I think we should address it at the time. So, I think we should just table it for now and revisit it in another month. If you have really good pictures, bring them back. I know it's a slow day, but
I don't have time to be over there videoing every time there's an event, but I
Okay.
witnessed it.
Okay.
I don't know what to say. You say you don't believe me, that's
No,
right.
no, we
I
do.
disagree with you.
No, we
Disagrees with you.
No,
I didn't say I don't believe you.
No, we do, look, I mean, I think that it is something that, it is Radnor Township, and it is quasi, half on private property, half, the public roads, that's fine. I think staff traffic should take a look at it, and they may offer Villanova a suggestion or not, and that's something that we can look at. That's something that I feel comfortable with. I don't know if you guys feel comfortable with that, but I feel comfortable with that. Is there any comment to that, or Rick? Jane?
Well, as I say, when the project is over, I think that will be the time for, a total audit of what the new traffic patterns are, what the newly created safety concerns are.
It's like
what
2
can be
years
done.
from now.
That's correct.
All right. Is there any more public comment? I have one more thing to say. I am hosting an open house on Tuesday, March 6th or 6th. 6th. You guys are welcome. I know that I sent out invitations to both of you. I don't know if you can make it, but you are more than welcome. We would love to have you representing Villanova. If you cannot make it, please send another ambassador. We would love to have you speak on Villanova's behalf. That's all I have to say. You said the next meeting is the 27th at Villanova.
Yes.
Terrific. We'll put that down. And
It's not this meeting.
No,
No.
it's just a
Neighbors
neighbors
meeting.
meeting.
Right.
Neighbors meeting is the
Did you
27th,
set
this
the
is
next
the
meeting?
6th.
mine is the 6th, yeah. So do we need to have a motion for the next meeting?
I don't think we can set a day without Bob and Steve.
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, that's true.
And I actually
Where are
had
we?
hoped they would be
Steve is sick.
participating in the triangle
Bob.
discussion, because they usually.
Bob
Bob
is
and with
Bob
you.
was sick. Bob is at another, yeah.
Yeah, we have
Okay.
a
Can-
very ill
Great,
police
yeah.
officer,
Can I-
he's at the hospital.
Can I make a motion to, pardon me, is there anything else? Any other staff, commissioner, or any board comment? Great. Can I make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of ending
Aye.
this meeting, say aye. Opposed? All right, everyone have a great night.
Thank